as Symonds said, it concerns a clergyman who suddenly begins to suffer from homicidal delusions. A good deal of what follows is very amusing, although the story falters sadly once suspicion of the clergyman has been aroused. Guglielmi's fondness for satire is evident in much of his work, including his crime fiction. The Vicar's Experiments was well received, and he was encouraged to continue in the same vein. Lobelia Grove, Family Matters, and Scarweather appeared under the Rolls name in quick succession. Each book displayed Guglielmi's inventive turn of mind, as well as his wit. Yet after producing 4 crime novels in 3 years, he abandoned the genre until the 50s. Down Among the Dead Men, 1952, was the first of 6 crime novels, which Guglielmi published under his own name. The storyline resembled that of the Vicar's Experiments, but this time the deranged killer was an Oxford academic. The storyline was developed for the cinema by Robert Hamer, who no doubt hoped to repeat his triumph with Kind Hearts and Coronets. After Hamer died, Don Chaffee took over, and the film was released in 1964 as A Jolly Bad Fellow. This black comedy, also known as They All Died Laughing, boasted a superb cast, including Leo McKern, Leonard Rossiter, Dennis Price, and Miles Malleson, and a soundtrack written by the young John Barry. But the whole did not quite add up to the sum of its impressive parts. Guglielmi's later work received less attention, but it remained interesting and unorthodox. His last book, Floral Tribute, 1963, was rather ahead of its time, and is possibly the first crime novel to address in some depth the subject of dementia. Guglielmi was a more ambitious novelist than most writers who display comparable versatility. His satire was sharp, but he also made serious points about human behaviour and the nature of society. As Symonds noted, he found it easier to come up with intriguing and unusual narrative premises than to sustain and resolve a complicated plot over the full length of a novel. And this is why the renown of his books never quite matched that of Francis Iles's work. But such is the flair and wit of his crime fiction that it does not deserve the neglect into which it has fallen. It is a pleasure to welcome this fascinating writer back into print. Martin Edwards, www.martinedwardsbooks.com. Chapter 1. If you fly over the town of Shufflecester, at an altitude of 10,000 feet, you see the town below you like a dirty grey splash on the variegated patterns of brown, purple and green which mark the level landscape of the great Shuffleshire Plateau. Through the middle of the town run the gentle sinuosities of the river Shuff, like a white ribbon. Seen from a lower altitude, Shufflecester has a most fantastic and irregular appearance, reminding you of a lot of grey and yellow bricks thrown at random upon a carpet by some heedless child. The builders of the town seem to have been sobered or restrained by the wide levels of the country. Their houses are flat, uniform, depressed, with hardly a tall building among them. Only the towers of the cathedral suggest a vertical idea, and even these are square and heavy. Outside the town are purple masses of timber, green or dun streaks of arable land flowing towards the misty line of the Wimbledon Hills above the sea. Even this aeroplane view gives the impression of a placid, agricultural place, resisting innovation, unmoved by the hustling spirit of the age. On the outskirts of the town, it is true, smudges of amber smoke hang above the brickyards. But these brickyards are few and isolated, nor do they indicate a prosperous industry. As for the breweries of Malworth, they hardly come within the Shufflecester scene. It may be said, without much fear of denial, that Shufflecester is one of the most English of English towns. If the archaeologist is not mistaken, it was a fortified place in Roman times, the Tasciodinum of the Antonine Itinerary. Its fine almshouse is one of the oldest in the